Night Heights, presented by Belk. We are live on the campus of the University of Missouri for a top 20 gymnastics battle in the SEC. It is 20th ranked Missouri hosting number 14 Arkansas. Hi there again, along with Olympic silver medalist and three-time NCAA champion Sam Peshek. I'm Alex Perlman. So glad you could make us a part of your Friday evening. And for Arkansas, Sam, this is a team that is in year number one with head coach Jordan Weber, but they've had a great start, on the rise in their last three meets. Yeah, as you can see, the team scores have continued to improve from week to week. And when I spoke to head coach Jordan Weber, she said they've been having intentional practices. Every turn they take, they are trying to focus on those details. And for Missouri, it is year number 7 under Shannon Welker, and they are coming off one of their better meets in recent memory, a season-high 196.65 against number 14 Auburn. He said that even with so many new faces, it was going to take a second for them to figure out their formula for success, but they think they found it. They needed to redirect their energy as a team in these team competitions each week. Bringing in 7 newcomers, 7 freshmen, on this young team that is on the rise in Columbia, Missouri. So it will be Missouri to start things off on vault, Arkansas on the bars in rotation number 1. Two teams that are looking to snap some skids, though. Razorbacks haven't won in their last 10 meets going back to last season. For Missouri, it's been a 3-meet skid. Something has got to give tonight between Arkansas and Mizzou. Even though these teams haven't had that many wins this far this season, I don't really think that is indicative of how their season has been going. They have had really tough matchups right at the beginning here. Sienna Schreiber, the freshman, to begin things. Yurchenko, layout full. Good clean position in the top there. And as you can see with the Missouri lineup, they're starting off with 3 995s and then finishing out the rotation with 3 10-0 vaults. Schreiber stuck her landing last week against Auburn at 9-9 to lead off the rotation. And Arkansas on bars, the number 16 rotation in the country. They're coming off a 49.075 at Kentucky last week, and it is the senior Jessica Yamzon out of Las Vegas. She leads off every single event, has never missed an all-around competition for the Razorbacks in her career. Good to Tkachev. This is somebody that you want in that first place position. She is good, she is clean. The goal for Arkansas on bars today is to hit the handstands and sticks. They've done the handstands without the sticks and vice versa, but they're wanting to put it all together here. Of course, finishing with that double layout, full out. Here's that Tkachev release move. I would like to see a little bit more amplitude off the bar there. And of course, finishing with that big E-level dismount, double layout, full out. Wanting the stick, but hoping the rest can nail those dismounts. Yamzon looking to set the tone for Arkansas on bars, and now Bel Gatula, the junior from Spring, Texas, a 9-9 last week at Auburn. It was a really good vault, 49-3, and that was the best round Shannon Welker said that he has had here at Missouri so far in his 7 years. Points of emphasis that we are looking for here on vault. First, Yurchenko layout full. She has excellent hop off this table, and you can tell the longer that she is in the air, the easier it is for her to stick at the end. Check it out, her arms are really straight on the table. Look how much height she gets. Is able to spot the ground, spot the table for a long time, and absorb the landing. Getting hot at the right time on vault, coming off of that 9-9. Bel Gatula with a great one there. And now a freshman for Arkansas, Kiara Gianfania. The points of emphasis that we're looking for here on bars are those handstands, form, not just in one skill, but throughout the entire bar routine, and of course those landings, that stick on the dismount. Gianfania, just the 3rd gym back from the state of Indiana, somewhere near and dear to your heart, Sam. Big Ray release move right off the top. She really fought for that. Fania competing in the all-around along with Kennedy Hambrick and Jessica Yemzon, who we've already seen on bars.
Doing a good job fighting for these handstands. And of course, the real test is that stick right there. That's what they're looking for here. This is the big Ray release move I was talking about. You see she is just enough distance away from the bar, has so much power into that hip moving through it, but does a good job controlling her energy.
Words of wisdom from bars coach Chris Brooks. Here is Helen Hu, who is competing in the all-around for just the second time in her collegiate career.
Another Yurchenko layout full. Looks like she was trying to get that stick a little bit too hard. Sometimes when you finish and you go for the stick, you end up straightening your knees and bouncing around instead of relaxing, being a little bit more patient into that ground.
Missouri does have a little bit of leeway right now on vault, though, with Schreiber posting a 9.8, Gatula a 9.875. We are waiting on Who's score. Arkansas on bars began things with Yemzon's 9.775, and here is the senior out of Memphis, Haley Garner. They dropped her 8.975 last week against Kentucky. And so 2 straight 9.775s to open things on bars for the Razorbacks.
Haley Garner is one of those gymnasts that has really good lines. Nice handstand to start off the bat. Giant full, big finger release move, overshoot combination there. When she hits, she has the potential to score really high. Finishing another giant full, double back dismount. Couldn't get the stick at the end, had too much power there, but it was another hit bar routine for Arkansas. This first handstand was a highlight for me. You can tell she was really confident about that position, hitting completely vertical, even stayed there for a second.
So Cambry Brandt, the freshman from Atkins, Texas, just went in 9.85 last week at Auburn on vault. Let's take one more look at what you missed.
This is Cambry, front handspring, front pike half, a little bit of a unique vault. That's worth a 10.0. Of course, her chest was a little low on the landing. It's going to be a small deduction, but overall, really nice vault.
We're off to a good start from left beat, but right beat is cutting him off now. Left beat is making a bit of contact.
Start on vault for Missouri. Going above 49 at this point. Arkansas maybe a little bit of a disappointment, but 49.175, the mark for Missouri after one rotation. Hi there again, Alex Perlman, Sam Pesek back with you. And Sam, I think Arkansas a little bit disappointed with their bar score. Missouri, on the other hand, they got to drop the 9.775 from Helen Hu and went above 9.8 on everything else.
I was impressed with what Arkansas did on the bars, but for them, it was about putting it all together, and they missed the mark a little bit. They wanted to stick a couple more routines than they actually did. But of course, with Jordan Weaver being their head coach, she brings a lot of experience to this team. She
certainly does. Even though she's only 24 years of age, the resume speaks for itself. Name recognition, international experience, vision for a new program. Checking all those boxes.
Well, she's actually a little bit older than she seems. Her maturity level is off the charts.
And for Missouri, this is a program that is young this season. 7 freshmen for 7th-year head coach Shannon Welker, but they're performing admirably at the beginning of the season.
And all the freshmen have been big contributors, especially one of the freshmen that's being talked about across the nation, and that's Helen Hu. We are going to see her coming up on bars. She has an extremely unique bar routine, lots of difficult skills, and she performs them at a very high level. Big skills, experience, she's the whole package.
Helen Hu on the all-around as well. So much more to come. Rotation 2 on the way here in Missouri. Presented by Belk. Alex Perlman, Sam Pesek back with you here at the University of Missouri with one rotation in the books. And we get set for Arkansas on vault and Missouri on bars. Coming up next, we'll take you to the Maravich Center in Baton Rouge for number 6 LSU squaring off against number 7 Alabama. You can always watch Friday Night Heights streaming live on the ESPN app, and that's one that you circle before the season. Crimson Tide Tigers. We were just in Baton Rouge a couple of weeks ago, and you know the PMAC is going to be rocking for that one.
They put on a good show there. I know I had a good time watching that game.
I don't know if it's equal to or greater than the Hog Hats and the Razorback overalls, but it's certainly close. So Missouri transferring to Bars. A season high 49-225 at Auburn last week. Arkansas is going to be on the vault to once again begin things with Jessica Yamzon. 9.775 in her first event, which with Arkansas being the visiting team was on Bars. Coming off a 9.75 last week on vault at Kentucky.
Starting off with the Yurchenko layout full. Again, what we're going to see with Jessica across the board is consistency. She's going to go out there and hit that first vault. Of course, we're seeing all 9.95s here. They are working on a couple upgrades, a couple 10.0 vaults, but right now at this part in the season, they're working on clean 9.95 vaults, especially with those landings.
But sometimes better. You know that, you know, if you hit those, you still have the potential to score pretty high.
Vault is such a strategy in college gymnastics these days. I love it.
So Missouri leading off with Aspen Tucker, the senior on Bars, scratched from a couple of different events after she landed short on her double pike on floor last week. Not feeling 100%, but they do need her on Bars.
Good first handstand. Nice pike Jaeger to get things going here on Bars. It was a pretty slow rhythm. Little shy there on that last handstand. And of course, a double tuck dismount, looking to get those sticks. Both teams here stress that to both of us on our coaches' calls, just how they want to start leaning into those sticks, absorbing it. But her handstands were something that impressed me throughout this bar routine, getting straight to vertical, even holding the handstand there. Finishes clean, double tuck dismount, had to take a step forward. That's what they're working for.
Missouri, the number 25 Bars rotation in the country this season. Yara Gianfagna now, 9.675 last week at Kentucky.
Yurchenko layout full, doesn't quite get the pop off the table. So your arms were bent. If she gets her arms a little straighter on the table, you can see that vault go up instead of just long.
Gianfagna trying to follow up Jessica Yamzon's 9.675 to begin things on vault. It was already a good first rotation for Missouri. 49.175 on Bars. And now here is Chelsea Christensen. Sam, I want to ask you to your point. Shannon Welker told us he wants the stick percentage to go from something like 30% to 50%. How do you do it?
Well, it's hard, right? Because if you tell somebody not to think about a pink elephant, you think about a pink elephant. And that's kind of how sticks are. Sometimes if you try too hard to stick, you make more errors. You're thinking about it too far in the season. So that's why stick drills are important, and just letting it happen and the corrections of absorbing those landings.
So the door opened just a little bit right here.
Looked like she wasn't even close on that Tkachev. I'm not sure from this angle. Let's check it out. It was a big Tkachev, and she doesn't get the turnover. It's tough. If she doesn't touch her fingers on the bar, then they actually don't even count it as a skill. So unclear right now if she's actually going to repeat that skill. They'll still have to count a fall, or if she's just going to start from where she left off.
Disappointment for Christensen. A 9.8 last week at Auburn. She was integral to that Bars score, the 49.225 we just mentioned.
Looks like she's going to keep going here. Oh, she's trying it again. No problems there. Sometimes one minor error of when you let go dictates the entire skill, and you know after you do it, that was an oops.
Excellent rebound right there.
Giant full, double back. Not her best routine. They're definitely going to want to drop this score.
Aspen Tucker began with a 9.65, so not looking great on bars right now for Missouri.
Here was her second try, and honestly, it didn't look that much different than the first one. She just sat up a little bit quicker and reached for that bar.
Here's Madison Hickey, the freshman out of Sycamore, Illinois, in her only event. 9-8 last week at Kentucky.
Yurchenko layout full. I've been watching them vault throughout this season, and they have those big dynamic vaults. You see that she's pretty far away from the table, but she did have to take a hop back. So they are working on consistent stick drills in the gym so it shows up in the competitions. Looks like it hasn't quite translated yet, but they're working on it.
So now Sienna Schreiber on bars for Missouri, freshman from Cumming, Georgia.
When I spoke to Shannon Welker about the freshman, this is one of the athletes he was talking about. He said that just in general, the freshmen have been really consistent, really steady, which usually are two characteristics that you don't describe freshmen with. He's been very impressed with them coming in, their work ethic, just jumping in the lineups and acting very maturely here.
We're still waiting on Chelsea Christensen's score. That's what's taking a while. Vault score just posted for Madison Hickey, a 9.775. Arkansas has not quite rebounded that well from the opening 48.85 on bars. 9.675, 9.65, and 9.775 the scores on vault for Arkansas.
Nice combination to start off the top. Working on being really sharp to all of those positions. Good double layout dismount. That was a cleaner dismount. Still a little deduction for the hop, but definitely in control. Double layout. Good shapes, just hikes it down a little early. But again, she is a freshman, and for her to show up like that is big for Mizzou.
Schreiber competing in the all-around, had a 9.8 to begin her night. Now Claire Rogers, freshman out of Kansas City, who I'm sure will be waiting for a team that wears red and white as well on Sunday.
She's got a big pop off the table. I really liked how she came off the table. She just pegged down a little bit at the end, which is why she had to take a pretty big hop back. But of course, looking at Arkansas's assistant coach, Chris Brooks, has a big resume himself on the 2016 U.S. Men's Olympic team. He was the captain. He was a two-time national team member at Oklahoma, seven-time NCAA All-American, and last season he was the OU men's assistant coach. So he has a lot of experience in this sport as well.
And someone you know well. What does he bring to the table?
He is the Disney dad, which is perfect for his personality. And of course, that's what they call him in the gym. But when I heard that, it is so fitting for his personality.
It's a sophomore from New York, Elisa Sharametta. Transferred in from Illinois, Chicago. A USA Gymnastics first-team All-American with the Flames.
And she has unique elements, too, in this bar routine. Nice Jaeger above the bar. Whoa! Good fight there from her. That could have easily come off the bar, but she fought for it. She knows that her score is going to count because there has already been a fall in this lineup. This is the unique dismount I was referring to. Front grip into a Rudy twist dismount. That's 1.5 twists. It wasn't the best routine she could do, but of course she fought through this, and it would have been a way bigger deduction if she would have cast it over right there. Extremely impressive way to hang on to that routine. They've got to be happy with her there.
Yeah, and they needed that fight too, Sam, with Christensen's 9.125 that they have to drop. Aspen Tucker's 9.65 is going to have to be counted at this point. Sarah Schaefer's first routine.
Yurchenko layout half, and again, a lot of momentum, a lot of power. I just want to see more control on the landing. Good block, nice positions, good shape, opens up at the right time. She's just so high in the air that It's about learning the air awareness and soaking up that landing.
And now Morgan Porter competing in the all-around after one rotation, had the lead with a 9.875 on vault. The redshirt senior posted a 9.85 on bars at Auburn.
She's a redshirt senior and somebody that can put up a good score for them, and they really need her to show up right now, especially with these scores being a little bit lower than what they've been doing the last couple of meets.
Morgan, the first ever SEC Freshman of the Year in school history after her first season.
She does such a good job getting quickly to that handstand position. No problem so far.
Young team, and she provides a lot of leadership out there.
Definitely. Towards the end of the lineup, she's putting up big scores and finishing with a big dismount. That's the stick they're looking for. Double front dismount. And this is where you see the experience start to show. Redshirt senior, starting with a Jaeger release move above the bar, which is what the judges are looking for, and of course finishing with a double front dismount, locks in that landing.
Should be a big score right there for Shannon Welker's Tigers, and one they certainly needed, having to count the 9.65. Kennedy Hambrick in the anchor spot for Arkansas.
She's just doing a Yurchenko layout full. She had shoulder surgery last spring, so she's coming back a little slower on vault, but she does have a Yurchenko 1.5 that they're hoping to get back in a little bit later in the season.
And now the ever-special freshman out of Chicago, Helen Hu, won the bars title with a 9.925 last week at Auburn. She is tied for the 7th best average on this apparatus in the SEC, and with the quality of gymnastics in the Southeastern Conference, if you're top 10 in anything, you're doing something right.
She's had such a buzz around the gymnastics community, and I would be lying if I said I wasn't excited to watch this here in person. Dynamic bar routine right off the top. This is a church. Oh.
And she fell in warm-ups as well.
She did. She had a rough warm-up rotation on bars. You could see just how high she is off the bar here. This is a church. Toe on pike to catch it. Look how high she is. She just didn't quite get her dowel grip completely over the bar there. This is a good angle to see it. Oh, couldn't hang on. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, when you have a mistake on bars, it's really difficult to get your momentum back here, especially with the big skills that she's throwing.
And this is following up Morgan Porter's 9.875, a great start for the redshirt senior, and this is very surprising for Helen Hu. I'm not sure the last time she's had a bars routine like this.
And we have to remember she's a freshman. And sometimes with freshmen, when mistakes come, it's harder to let them go. Sometimes one mistake turns into 2 mistakes. So this is going to be a really big test for her to see how she handles the rest of this bar routine. That's a Maloney half.
The fans here are giving them the support, Sam.
Finishes with a double tuck. You can tell she's a little disappointed right there from their bar routine, especially because she has a big score potential for them, so they're going to have to count a fall. Yeah,
Chelsea Christensen's 9.125 was going to be dropped, but it's looking like it's going to be Helen Hu's routine. 2 rotations in the books now. It is a tight one between 2 state rivals in Arkansas and Missouri. You're watching Friday Night Heights, presented by Belk. Back here in Columbia, Missouri. A little bit of a rough second rotation. Both teams trying to rebound as we head to rotation number 3. $97.65 to $97.35. Back with you, Alex Perlman and Sam Peshek. And this is going to be a telling rotation because Missouri certainly opened up the door after rotation number 2. Not exactly what they wanted to see. Just a 48.175 for Shannon Welker's Missouri team. For Arkansas, a 48-8-5, and up by 3/10 as Missouri starts on beam.
Well, after doing coaches' calls, I know both teams are going to be a little disappointed because they're both programs on the rise. They have big potential, and we haven't seen that yet in the competition. But coming to floor and beam, it's two of their best events. I'm sure they're hoping both of these teams are going to step up right here.
If you had a rotation to circle, it would be number 3. Missouri, the number 8 beam team in the country. Arkansas, number 4 on floor. The Tigers a 49-4-2-5 at Auburn last week, which was the second highest beam score in program history.
This is looking really solid. Of course, that's the ingredients for being the leadoff performer here. Coaches were saying that she's just a natural beam worker, and she likes being towards the front of the lineup, so it was a natural position for her as well, only being a freshman.
And they are trying to replace the ever-steady Allison Bauer, who graduated last year.
Good start-off routine for them.
Well, coming up when we are done here in Missouri, a good look at Kaya Johnson, who is sure to show out down in Baton Rouge. 10 on beam last week, and 6th-ranked LSU taking on number 7 Alabama next on SEC Network. We're gonna have to find somewhere to watch that after this.
I know.
The Razorbacks, the number 4 team in the country on floor. How about this score? A 49-5-2-5 at Kentucky last week. Tied for second highest in program history. 4 gymnasts going 9-9 or better.
Jess, of course, isn't just a leadoff gymnast for them on all 4 events. She's just a leader for them in general. Coaches say that she's the lead by example type.
Last week, Yemzon with a 9-8-5 against Kentucky, and they dropped her score.
You're going to see them walk on the floor, and it's a different sort of confidence than you see them have on the other events. They look like they own the floor. They look comfortable and confident here. Finishing last pass, front layout to a front layout full, and of course you see the Disney dad come out right there, getting so pumped up for these floor routines.
A familiar opponent for now associate head coach Casey Joe McPherson here for Missouri. She competed at Arkansas, was fantastic, an 8-time All-American, SEC champion on the beam as well.
Well, everyone remembers her name. She was such a standout, big skills right there, and you have to assume that Missouri is performing so well on beam, so consistently, because of her leadership, because of her guidance over here on beam. She's such a calming presence also.
At that point, she was Casey Joe McGee, though.
Yes.
Got married in 2014, changing her last name to McPherson. So if you followed SEC Gymnastics right around the end of the first decade, she is a name that you would absolutely know. And as we mentioned, the first year that she has been promoted to associate head coach. All of the coaches actually have been with Shannon Welker all 7 years.
And not only did she stop gymnastics when she finished Arkansas, but she tried to continue to do elite for the next 2 years, which is extremely difficult. No one does that. I think about 3 people in the entire country have ever done that because it is so tough. But I think that's just a testament to her resilience and how much she just loves this sport.
Not something you were interested in.
No. I ran my course. Yes.
You had a pretty good college career, though. It was not a bad time to say goodbye with 3 NCAA championships and an Olympic silver medal under your belt.
Thanks for throwing that in there, Alex.
Well, you're welcome. I always try to give you props whenever I can. We only have 1 Olympian in the booth, unfortunately.
And let's check out those points of emphasis that we're looking for here on beam. Of course, the 180-degree leap or jump, the acro series and landing. Starting off with a very solid front toss. I loved how vertical her chest was when her feet hit the beam. Oh, man, I did not see many wobbles from them in this beam warm-up. She looked pretty straight there. It looked like a reactive fall is what I call it, when you just get a little bit off and you react to that instead of doing what you normally do in the gym.
You know, and not continuing that momentum. I think Shannon Welker's going to be disappointed about that, because Missouri started off last week's rotation with 3 straight 9.85s on beam, and they have just not been able to sustain that. It was a great meet for them as well.
Yeah. And typically when a team starts losing confidence, it first starts showing up on the balance beam here. Hopefully this natural beam workers, all of this beam team can get them back on track. It's good for the rest of the lineup to have to compete under pressure. Looking for the postseason. This is the back handspring layout. See, she was pretty square right there. Her hips were just a little off-centered. She could have saved that, which is why I'm sure she's a little frustrated there.
Here's Chiara Gianfagna, 9.875 last week at Kentucky. Arkansas trying to snap a 10-meet losing streak, which goes back to last year, and a 3-meet skid for the Tigers.
Let's check out the points of emphasis here on floor. Artistry, which Chiara, she's doing a good job. She's smiling through it. Power on those tumbling passes, and of course, you're hearing this a lot tonight, but the landings are so important. They don't have to stick the landings here on floor, but they do have to show control in that lunge position.
Gianfagna in the all-around tonight, a 9.65 and a 9.775 to begin through 2 rotations. Right now, that is Morgan Porter's to lose with a couple of 9.875s.
She's getting ready to do her last pass, and I think it's notable to point out she doesn't look tired at all. And this is Jordan Weaver's magic touch, I like to say. Her little secret to floor is just making them so prepared that they can enjoy their routines when it comes to the competition. She wasn't worried about being too tired for her last pass. And very pleased, 2 thumbs up from head coach Jordan Weaver.
Saturday, we've got another men's hoop doubleheader for you right here on the SEC Network and ESPN app. Arkansas taking on Alabama at Coleman Coliseum. That's our first game at 6 Eastern, 5 Central. And then we take you to historic Memorial Gymnasium in Nashville. Vanderbilt hosting Florida Saturday, 8:30 Eastern. So a 9.25 for Hannah McCrary after that fall on beam, looking to drop that. Sienna Schreiber began the rotation with a 9.75.
Back handspring layout, solid, very sharp finish.
How hard is it to follow up a fall?
It's really tough. You'd like to think that you're just staying in your element, that's what you're told, but it's really hard to ignore the fact that one of your teammates just fell and you have to make this routine in order for your team not to count a fall. But as tough as it is in the regular season, it's really good practice because they're hoping to achieve big things here in the postseason, and you want to have that experience under your belt.
We mentioned off the top, both Arkansas and Missouri trying to get to the upper echelon of teams in the country. They're close at this point, but need to clean up things, including counting falls.
That was a big routine for them. I didn't see many deductions on the beam at all. The most notable deduction I saw from that was the 1 step on the dismount, but this was a very clean, beautiful routine. Nice strong arm positions is what I was noticing throughout this set, and of course in that front aerial split jump.
Arkansas continuing its strong floor work this season. A 9.8 for Yamzon. Gianfagna just posted a 9.825. And here is Kennedy Hambrick. She started a run of 4 straight 9.9s last week with a 9.925, tying Sophia Carter, her teammate, for the floor title.
She actually just walked on the floor, had to walk off for some reason, and now she's back on the floor. So talk about the mental hurdles both of these teams are dealing with tonight. Big double tuck. Probably one of the biggest double tucks in the NCAA. Good combination pass, and in my opinion, her routine just looks too easy. She's executing it too well.
That's a good thing, though, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Every coach's dream to hear. It's too easy.
.975 on beam for Sharametta following up Hannah McCrary's fall, so solid hit there for Missouri.
Or even any deductions so far in this routine. I do not know what they're going to take. This is going to be a big number for Arkansas on floor. Her passes have so much power, but what stands out the most about her passes is that she opens up at the perfect time. Great air awareness, almost floats to that lunge position, and it has so much control. That's tough to do with having that much power.
You know, Sam, most times it's an advantage to go in Olympic order, but you almost feel like for Arkansas failing to hit 49 in the first 2 rotations, going to their best event actually is a huge help for them.
Every time they go to floor, it seems like they get some momentum back.
And maybe that sets them up for a big beam routine in rotation number 4. We'll have to see. For now on beam, it's Morgan Porter, who is working on a great night. 2 9.875s competing in the all-around.
She has that competitive experience. She did have a fall on beam last weekend, but it was very uncharacteristic for her.
Porter's career high in 9.95, which came against Arkansas in 2016 when she had a career best 39.65. Oh, she just stays on.
Front aerial, you can tell she was really crooked. She's going to try it again here. She needs to just keep her arms moving. There she goes. Oh, that is not what they wanted to see.
No, and a huge surprise because you expect Morgan Porter to be your rock right there.
She's just looked a little off from the start of this beam routine, you could tell.
That's going to open the door in the all-around competition.
With her having as much experience, she knows what this means, and she's got to finish the rest of this routine. There she goes, front toss right there. You can see how tight she landed. That's really how she should have started this beam routine. Finishing round off 1.5, hop on the dismount. For them being a beam team, they are not going to be happy with this. Here's the back tuck. She just wasn't able to pull it back on. She was crooked coming out of that front aerial and didn't stretch harder with her right side to finish square on the beam.
Well, Morgan will have floor still to come, but it is asking a lot from Missouri. They have been great on beam, but many of those 7 seniors helping out in that apparatus. And Brittany Ward was so important as the anchor. You lose the bookends because you lose Allison Bauer as the leadoff on beam.
sometimes how you respond as a team shows a lot about your team and a lot of where the weaknesses are in the gym. When everything's going perfectly, it's really easy to have a great meet. Big double tuck for her second pass.
Sarah Schaefer competing in floor as well as vault. Her vault score was a 9.775. Big score, tying a career high for Kennedy Hambrick a moment ago, 9.925. So nothing below a 9.8 at this point for Arkansas on floor.
And Sarah's another athlete that has a lot of power in her routine. She's a dynamic tumbler, but again, another one of those athletes that it looks like she almost floats to those finish positions. Her chest is always vertical like that when she lands, which is exactly what the judges are looking for in that controlled position. Another great routine for Arkansas on floor. She's starting off with a really big double pike. She's almost close to opening up to that layout position there in that double pike. And this is the double tuck. Moves her front foot just slightly, but not a big deduction.
And at some point, if you're Arkansas, this just becomes your identity. You keep hitting week after week on floor, and that becomes your team, doesn't it?
They all look comfortable. They don't look stressed on this event, and I'm curious to see if they can continue that sort of swagger onto the beam rotation, their last event.
Belgatula had a 9.925 last week at Auburn, which was second only behind Helen Hu. Who will anchor right after Gatula and try to bounce back from a very tough 8.825 on bars.
This is a good, clean routine from Belle so far, and when we talked to Casey Jo McPherson before, she said, Belle's really been stepping up for us. She's been consistent, she's been steady, and that's exactly what they're looking for right now.
Need a hit. Absolutely, after a 9.05 for Morgan Porter. So at this point, they're going to have to count the 9.25 for Hannah McCrary.
This isn't a perfect routine for Belle, but you can see she's fighting through it. She stayed on the beam. She got that stick position. It was a good routine for her, especially in the situation that they're in over there on beam. You can see she was a little crooked on this back handspring layout on the very end. Check this out. One little bobble, her front heel was off, but she saves it beautifully. And of course, a dismount was the highlight for me. She soaks in that landing, gets the stick.
Bailey Lovett, the redshirt freshman, trying to follow up Sarah Schaefer's 9.875. Sticks have been a focus for both Jordan Weaver and Shannon Welker. And Sam, at this point, you would have to say they're looking for a little bit more.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to reevaluate those sticks because it's not what they were hoping to see here tonight. Big double layout, though.
What would you do with the teams in the gym to try to get that advantage higher?
Well, when I was speaking to Jordan Weaver about it, you don't want to do too many numbers because you don't want to ruin the bodies during competition season. So it's all about simulating those stick drills.
Fun routine here for Lovett, coming off a 9.9 last week.
Coaches say that she's really been getting more comfortable being a vocal leader, even though she's just a redshirt freshman. She's been stepping up in that role.
And they just posted Belgatula's 9.7.
Finishing big double back, absorbs the landing there. And I just love how excited she's getting on floor. It makes me excited for her.
I was just going to say that.
I love this double layout that she starts off with. Beautiful positions, tight arch shape is what you want to see. Straight down to that lunge position, and I don't know whose mouth was open wider, Bailey's or Chris Brooks.
We could call it a tie, I think. All right,
Maybe the Disney dads rubbing off on all the girls. That's what's going on.
It seems that way. That's not a bad thing necessarily. So here's Helen Hu coming off of the bars title, 995 at Auburn. Morgan Porter's 905 would be dropped at this moment. The 925 from McCrary would be counted. 6th in the country on beam, Helen Hu.
Starts off strong with the back handspring layout. And you're going to see her beam routine stand out. She brings an artistry level that is so high to this event. And even though they're counting the fall already, her routine is important for this. She looks calm up there. I think for a freshman, that's a really big deal. She did have a couple mistakes on bars, so for her to handle this beam routine is important for her to show those coaches. Beautiful front aerial to scale.
Makes it look so easy. She's like a ballet dancer up there.
Head coach Shannon Welker was joking with us. He said, you know, we're just trying to get her to point her toes a little bit more because she has such a beautiful toe point already. And this is her Valdez unique dismount. That's going to be a big score, exactly what they needed in her to do in that anchor spot. Starting off with the back handspring layout. Good finish. Here's the front aerial to scale. You can tell she was a little off, had to bring her arms down a little bit, but it was beautiful. Doesn't even wobble after it. She is a natural beamer, you can tell.
Yeah, Confucius said everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. If you don't find beauty in Helen Hu's routine, you're just not watching.
That's true.
The anchor Sophia Carter shared the floor title with Kennedy Hambrick last week, 9.925 on floor, 9th in the country in this event.
Good double tuck. I liked her finish just as much as I liked her double tuck to open with.
At this point, if Sophia Carter puts up a big score, Jessica Yamzon's 9.8 can be dropped.
And that's nothing new for this Arkansas team. They're used to doing that. Their scores tend to build from the beginning to the end of their lineup pretty consistently, especially on floor.
This is more of a home meet for Sophia Carter, being from just outside Kansas City than it is being in Fayetteville. Less than 2 hours to the University of Missouri.
She is just so beautiful to watch on this event. We go from watching Helen Hu on beam to Sophia Carter on floor. What a treat.
Helen Hu posted a 9.9 from Missouri on beam.
Finishing to a stick double pike. She's already ranked 9th individually on floor, so this score is definitely going to help her in those rankings.
Nothing below a 9.875 this year. With 3 straight 9.9s or better, did she get another one to anchor Arkansas on floor? Well, she is going to have to better Kennedy Hambrick, tying her career high, a 9.925 and a huge third rotation on floor for the Gymnastics. Rotation here in Columbia. Arkansas right now by 1.35. It was a very disappointing third rotation for Missouri. On beam, a 48.35, and they will try to bounce back from that one. Alex Perlman, Sam Pesek back with you with 2 top 20 teams, 2 coaches that know that their sides can give them a little bit more. Where do they fit into the whole SEC spectrum in your mind?
Well, historically speaking, Alabama and Georgia have been at the top, but these 2 teams have really been pushing in recent years, and I imagine in the next few years they could be ranked in the top 3. I've talked to Casey Joe McPherson. They're excited about the recruits they have coming in, new coaches at Arkansas. So it's going to be a whole different vibe here for the SEC. It's hard enough already, but I think the competition is going to get even tougher here.
Jessica Yamzon competing in the all-around. This is actually her best event, though. Tied for the beam title last week at Kentucky with a 9.875.
She hit that back handspring layout, doing exactly what she knows how to do best, hitting first. Setting the tone, especially on this event. We saw how important it was, or wasn't, for Mizzou. But Arkansas was able to get one good routine under their belt.
A 9.8 for Yamzon on the floor just before.
Here's that triple series she started off with. Handspring, handspring, layout. I like how sharp she gets to that finish.
And right now it is Kennedy Hambrick by 0.175 over Sienna Schreiber. You can see it has become a very tight race. And still, any of those four for the all-around championship here tonight. So Missouri, to start things off with Elisa Sharametta, they are trying to bounce back from a season low 48-7 at Auburn last week.
Starting off with front handspring double fold, that's an E difficulty pass.
Against Auburn, Sharametta was locked in, except she could not stay on her feet on the final pass of the routine.
To lay out, step out. That's a bonus connection pass. When we did our coach's call, head coach Shannon Welker was telling us that they thought they found the formula for success for this young team, and that was redirecting their energy at meets. He said with such a young team, they didn't necessarily know where to stand, when to cheer, how to be involved, and how to be a teammate on the side of the equipment. Good, unique last pass there. This is a very strong leadoff routine for Mizzou on floor.
Shannon Welker happy with it after Sharametta's.
This is the first pass. Starting with big difficulty here. Good height for handspring double full. Knows exactly where she is in the air.
Again, 1.35 is the margin to make up. That's going to be pretty difficult for Missouri, but I think Shannon is just going to want to see improvement. And in rotation number 4, closing it out on a high note in front of the home fans.
Back handspring layout. She actually looked crooked to me in that series. Does a good job adjusting in the air. All meet, we've been talking about Jessica Yamzon going first on every single event, but I think it's interesting to note that Kiara has gone second on every single event. She really looks up to Jess, being a freshman, and we might even see her move up in the lineups next year, taking that spot. Maybe they're grooming her for that position.
Well, it's unusual to have to replace your leadoff on every single event.
That's going to be a tough job to do, but she's going second, so it's pretty close. She looks calm up there. You can see she's smiling through it. Finishes bound off 1.5. Good routine. Alex, you know a little bit about what calling the hogs is, don't you? You missed it.
I've seen it plenty, though. There are so many Razorback fans here making the trip up from Fayetteville.
It's great to see that team spirit travel all the way across the country.
It sure is, and one of the more unique mascots, that's for sure. Only one Razorbacks in Division I. Belgatula looking to follow up Sheremetye's 9-8-7-5.
Begins double pike. Having that mat there is not a deduction, it's just a little extra safety mat. Makes your ankles feel better when you land. You can see she already has both ankles taped. Did she just hit the whoa before her second pass?
I think she did.
I like her swing.
Belgatula tonight a 9-8-7-5. Vault, and then on being posted a 9-7, competing in everything except for bars.
Of course, one of the points of emphasis we're looking for here is that performance quality. And Belle is bringing it tonight.
His hip-hop dancing skills.
Oh, bounces out of that double back. Her chest was too low there. Maybe the biggest deduction in the routine, but the first two passes were very solid. Take a look, double pike, knows where she is, sells that landing position, and she throws the whoa. Give a little stank face there. Whew. I think that would pump me up before going for my second pass.
Oh, no doubt.
I wish the whoa was a thing when I was in college.
What would you have thrown? What dance move?
Maybe the stanky leg.
You would have done a stanky leg out on the floor.
It's a little outdated now, but that was the first thing that came to my mind.
I would have loved to have
seen that. Thank you for asking, yes.
Chiara Gianfagna just a moment ago for Arkansas on beam with a 9-8, so she becomes now the new all-around leader.
So you see her back handspring mount there. That's an extra 10th bonus, which helps her get to the 10-0 start value, of course, this year. The 9-5 is typically what we have seen in previous years, and this year they have to get 6/10 of bonus to have a 10-0 start value. Front aerial back layout, step out, a little slow on that connection.
How much more difficult does that make the routine going for the 6/10?
You just have to add one extra 10th of bonus. So whether it's in the mount with what you saw here or in the dismount, but the judges did say there is more opportunity than last year to get that 1/10 bonus.
Bailey Lovett, who fell her first ever collegiate beam routine, has hit the last 4 weeks now.
Front aerial to that back layout step out. She still should get that connection because her arms technically are still moving, even though they're adjusting a little slowly on that move. You could just hear Joe say, you gotta keep moving your arms forward. I read her lips there. It's exactly what I was talking about, getting nervous with the connection there.
And now Sienna Schreiber, who is competing in the all-around. She came in second, 0.175 behind Kennedy Hambrick for Arkansas, and following up a 9-8 from Belgatula.
Nice double pike.
Schreiber had a 39.375 last week in the all-around, finishing behind Morgan Porter.
Very clean, Rudy to lay out, step out. Sometimes it's tough to get your legs squeezed on that pass, and she does a nice job of that. Another interesting comment that head coach Shannon Welker told us on our phone call was that with so many freshmen, you forget that you have to compete every single weekend. So they were a little slow in practice getting going, but he had to remind them, you don't get 2 weeks off in between meets. We have got to compete next weekend. That's something that they're still adjusting to as freshmen. It was a really good routine for a freshman, Sienna Schreiber.
And the last chance for her to make her mark on an all-around championship potentially.
She had a 2-pass routine, but starts off strong with that double pike. It is not a deduction to have 2 passes, but you still have to get that 6/10 of bonus, whether it's in your leaps or jumps or in those 2 passes.
So Bailey Lovett posted a 9.775, which means Jessica Yanzon's leadoff 9.725 would be dropped for Arkansas. But here's Kennedy Hambrick. She is the all-around leader for the Razorbacks. All SEC in the all-around last year.
Handspring layout, fights for that landing. They started off the first meet a little rough on beam, and so head coach Jordan Weber told me that they're still working on gaining that confidence. She can tell whenever we go to beam, there's a little bit of that reminder from the first meet. So they're working hard each meet to kind of create that confident identity that they have on floor.
Yeah, you would hope that the 49.4 on floor does give them some confidence heading into rotation number 4.
Coaches say they're still not seeing them compete the beam routines that they're doing in practice, but so far I'm seeing really great sets here on Arkansas. Stuck dismount, of course, that's been a big point of emphasis, not only that we look for, but that the coaches have been looking for to show up in this meet.
Yeah, they go calling the hogs right there too.
Back handspring layout, this was the biggest deduction I saw in the routine. She had to take 1 step back, but hangs on to it. Finishes cartwheel gainer full to a stick position.
So as long as Kennedy Hambrick scored a 9.675 there, that is going to give her the all-around title. Anna McCrary, at least a 9.8 on all 3 events she performed last week. She had a 9.8 on floor at Auburn and nothing below that this season.
Front layout to Rudy.
Nothing below a 9.8 so far on floor from Missouri.
Well, coaches did say that a strength for this team was adaptability. That whether it's the judges or traveling dilemmas or falls in a competition, they bounce back very well. And that's what we're seeing here for them showing up on this floor rotation. No major deductions yet.
Yeah, Shannon said not letting uncontrollable things like a travel delay or a judges conference throw them off their game.
Finishes last pass, 2.5. Tried to go for that stick and had to take the hop to the right there. Those are the little details throughout season that they're trying to work out. Front layout, front Rudy, very nice pass to start off this routine.
So the sophomore who competed in every event except for bars. One of those inexperienced gymnasts, even though a sophomore, just 8 total starts heading into this season. She's been relied on in 2020 for Shannon Welker. And there is Kennedy Hambrick posting a 9.75, which gives her the all-around championship. Sophia Carter can light it up on beam. She set the program record with a 9.975 against Georgia back in 2018.
Well, her artistry is just beautiful to watch on floor. She definitely brings that quality to beam, and back handspring layout there, sharp to that landing positions. And actually, landing positions have been a focus for this team, especially on the beam. Working hard not to wobble on that front aerial, just like that. Jordan Weber said they're still working on performing their routine. She wants them to get up there. She wants them to smile exactly performing like they do on the floor, because they are so confident, have so much swagger on that event. She's really trying to make that translate to the beam rotation.
But how do you do that?
You just remind them to have fun, let it happen. Muscle memory is so powerful in the sport of gymnastics, but sometimes beam is the most mental and the mistakes show up sooner on that event. But what a phenomenal routine from Sophia Carter. I didn't see any deductions in this routine. Back handspring layout solid. All of her skills were so sharp on the beam, and of course, finishing with that side aerial, back full dismount. It is going to be a big number for Arkansas.
Carter is the only gym back ever to record a 9.975 twice on the same event. She did it in 2018 against Georgia and also at Arizona. And now here is Morgan Porter. A very disappointing beam rotation for her with a 9.05. And it has been a solid time on floor right now for Missouri. Looking to drop Belgatula's 9.8.
Big double pike. They named captains for the first time. That head coach Shannon Welker has been here at Mizzou, and Morgan Porter is one of them. He said they've been doing team meetings, setting the tone, leading by example, and of course giving those pep talks. So we can only assume that Morgan gave the pep talk heading into this last event here.
I wonder if she gave one to herself as well after that fall.
You can bet as a redshirt senior, she gave herself a couple of pep talks heading to this floor rotation.
Coming off of a floor title win last week with a 9.9.
Double tuck. She does a good job of spotting the landing before she lands. Helps her control that lunge position.
And an excellent bounce back performance for the redshirt senior.
Here's that last pass. Finishing double tuck, and because she finished with a double flip pass, she does get an extra 1/10 bonus. Another opportunity to gain that extra 10th they're working towards to have a 10-0 start value this year.
And the Razorbacks have made a late change here, putting Katarina Derrick in. I suppose they feel like, why not? Because Haley Garner was in for Sarah Schaefer, and at this point, the meat is in hand. Arkansas is going to beat Missouri, so you might as well see someone new and see what you got here on beam.
It's important to foster your depth, and for her to get this experience on beam right now, especially when they don't technically need her score. It's good for her to compete under pressure in that anchor spot.
The worst that they'll have to count, even with a fall, is a 9.725. Sophia Carter just posted a 9.925, which is a new season high for the junior.
Pitch kick, front toss. I really like how vertical her chest is at the end. I think this shows just how much depth they do have on beam. She wasn't even slated to go in the beam lineup. There was a couple people ahead of her before this lineup, and she's doing a phenomenal job. Not wobbling, looking confident, looking calm, hanging on to that landing there. I mean, you can't ask anything more from someone being thrown into the beam lineup last minute.
So the Razorbacks building some momentum here for the future after that big floor.
Split jump, she hits that 180 position. I think she's right at the line there. Finishes, gainer layout full off the side. Is able to pull out the stick there.
They should be right near a 49 on beam. And now to finish it out on floor, Helen Hu. Disappointing all-around score, as you can tell, with that 8.825 on bars, one of her best events.
Starting from handspring double full. That looked a lot better than the one that I saw her do in warm-up.
Only one floor routine for Helen this season in 9.55 3 weeks ago, but she has been improving on this in the gym.
This routine is just so stunning to watch. It even made ESPN's list on top 10 routines that should go viral.
She's certainly showing why.
Coaches did say they want her to improve her consistency, though, especially on floor. That's why she hasn't been a mainstay in the floor lineup. Finishing Rudy. Front handspring 1.5 there. Her JO coach made the coaches, her new coaches, promise that they would keep her artistic value of her routines, keep her difficulty. They text and say thank you for making her beautiful gymnastics shine in college. They're happy with what she's been doing here at Mizzou.
Only a freshman, bright days ahead for Helen Hu. But in the end, a great meet for Arkansas, and they break the streak.
We love our new home. There's so much space.
We have a guest room now.
But we have ants.
You're slouching again, Ted.
Expired. Expired.
Friday Night Heights is presented by Belk, proud sponsor of the SEC. Visit belk.com today. Oh, it is a meet that first-year Arkansas head coach Jordan Weber is going to remember. They snap a 10-meet losing streak going back to last year, 196.025 to 195.025.
Well, it wasn't perfect for either team, but there was a lot of teachable moments. They're going to go back in the gym, work on those, improve for the coming weekends. They learn a lot more about their team in these meets like today.
Let's take a look at Winning with Style, brought to you by Belk. Kennedy Hambrick, all-around championship, and tonight that she is not going to forget either.
She had an all-around day across the board, really keeping it together. I thought she got a little underscored on this floor routine. It was amazing.